Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are finishing off this term with a personal reflection. I am, if it isn't obvious, a huge believer in the reflective practice, and that reflecting on your growth over any period of time is one of the best ways to learn and to grow your skills and to be a better professional person and just citizen all around. So I thought I would sort of conclude our course by discussing your own personal reflection and your own growth as an engineer. I hope you'll take some time to watch this video as we sort of just discuss what it means to do this personal reflection and sort of review the things that we've gone through over the course of this video series, this entire term. So some of the core themes that we've experienced and explored this term include agile and action. We started with a theory all the way to running sprints and adapting to possible change, which I am sure happened in your projects. Testing for confidence, so our unit tests, our integration tests, and discussing our characterization tests in legacy code. Lots of teamwork and collaboration through version control and code reviews, and really this idea of collective ownership over a team-based project. And architecture and design, right? We looked at lots of different patterns for organizing our code and organizing our classes, refactoring and technical debt, and of course, working with legacy systems as we closed out last week. If you go back to week 1, when we discussed our course vision, we said the following. We said, by the end of this course, you will be able to build software that solves a real problem as part of a team, apply iterative, test-driven, and design-focused practices, work effectively in a shared code base with evolving requirements, communicate and collaborate like a professional engineer. Now, while all of these are basically project-based, hopefully you found that learning through this video series was a way to start to build out that software, understand the different ways in which teams can collaborate and work together, and figure out different ways to solve the problems that you as a team came up against. We discussed the power of feedback loops because feedback really mattered. We wanted to make sure that we found our issues early because they'd be easier and cheaper to fix. And you certainly saw sort of the consequence of not doing that throughout this project at least once. We really wanted to build a shared understanding of our code base, of the goals and the priorities of a project. If you had any teammates who had no idea what was going on, we could see it through their code and their attempts at, contributing to the project. And really we saw that giving feedback early and often encouraged this continuous improvement. It allowed for small tweaks to occur over giant reworks of our code. We saw these feedback loops in lots of different places. We saw them in our peer reviews and our pull requests that hopefully we went through. It allowed us to catch those bugs, improve our design, and also share knowledge of the things that we wrote amongst our team members. We had our retrospectives where we could reflect on what went well, what we needed to improve, and how we were going to go about doing that. And through our pull requests and merge request comments. So this was a place where we could do our inline suggestions for feedback, clarifications, asking for more examples, right? This allowed us to sort of mentor each other. And if we ever had new team members, a really good place for us to help them onboard and understand what the heck we're looking for. Now, this is a really important time where I think we need to sort of address this idea of imposter syndrome, because I remember my first round of code reviews in industry and how I started to think I do not belong here. And clearly everybody knows more than me. And the reality was everybody did know more than me, but that was okay. And it had nothing to do with my sense of belonging, right? We really want to make sure that we're not comparing our inside thoughts and doubts and struggles to others' outside finished work, right? That's what imposter syndrome is. It's when we're comparing how we're feeling inside, like I don't know anything, with others who have been here and been around the block and have different life experiences, and their finished work looks very different than what we're feeling right now, right? It's often a feeling like the reason why we're here is because we got lucky and not because we're good at what we do. Everybody can feel behind at some point, even experienced engineers, even your smartest, most brilliant professors that you have in your class have this feeling. And struggling does not mean that you're failing. It just means that we're learning. Growth, unfortunately, happens outside of our comfort zone. True learning requires that discomfort to happen. Struggling means we're learning something. It does not mean that we can't do it or that we don't belong here. Now, I unfortunately have some bad news, which is that I cannot promise that it goes away. Like I said, I promise you that you have professors right now that have these feelings and that they're normal and it's okay. But what we really want to make sure that we do is we acknowledge it. We want to make sure that we focus on learning. We want to use some of those measuring tools that we talked about. We want to measure our progress by what we've learned, not what we've mastered. And we also want to keep talking about this stuff with our peers. If we share with our peers, we're going to realize we actually all feel the same. Everybody has these feelings sometimes. The biggest piece of advice I can give you is to make sure that you keep a list of wins. And those wins can be figuring something out on your own, getting your project to build, or something much bigger, completing a whole feature or project piece all by yourself. It can be mentoring another person or answering their questions. It can be helping somebody else through a problem, or it can even be like successfully and confidently pair programming, because working with other people is hard. And if you can do it, that's amazing. Keeping these lists will really show you that these small successes add up over time and that every day we're achieving at least a little bit of something. Now, I hope you'll continue your journey and you'll keep growing after the end of this course. That might mean joining open source projects on GitHub and being able to contribute to code bases that you care about. It will mean that you can keep learning real world collaboration skills from diverse teams and individuals. I hope you'll go back and visit old projects of yours, old assignments, and refactor them now that you have these new skills. Add tests, improve your design, and document them a little bit better. Maybe it becomes something that you want to showcase in the future. You could even go and build a small tool and automate a daily task, something that might make your life a little bit easier. You can do this with a new framework or API, or with old skills too. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter whether it works, it doesn't work, there's no commitment. We're doing it to learn something, and maybe it becomes something we integrate into our life, and maybe it just becomes another tool that gets thrown on the pile of things we tried. Spend time reading other people's code. This means going into open source projects, going through GitHub, see different ways of solving problems, become a grader in a course, right? A grader marker for a course, because you see all sorts of crazy ways of solving problems when you are on the other side of the education system. Learn patterns and idioms and shortcuts that you might just not have seen or discovered if you're doing it by yourself. And join me or whoever's teaching Comp 4350 in the future for more of this and more opportunities to strengthen your skill set as a developer. So, like I said, last week was our last real sort of reflection on course material, but for our final reflection, you should sit down, you should really write this down and revisit it in 1 year. So take out a note in your phone or a piece of paper and pin it up on a board somewhere and ask yourself, what are you proud of from this course this term, right? Is it a feature you built, a problem you solved, or maybe even a way that you supported your team? These are all things to be proud of, and we should be able to write them down. And what's one way that we now think differently about software? Maybe it's a process or a tool that we now understand better and value, or a change in how we're going to approach problem solving, testing, or teamwork in the future. Really write these down and put them somewhere. Put it in your phone right now, a reminder for 1 year from today to ask yourself to go back and reflect on this reflection, a little inception-y, but do it and see just how far you've come from this moment in time to next year as well. This is how we're going to grow as engineers and as software developers and become forever learners in a field that will never, hopefully, never stop growing. I will say one more time, thank you so much for joining me on this journey through this course and through these videos. And if I happen to see you in the halls or in industry, I hope that you'll say hello. Thanks for your attentiveness. And for one final sign off, have a great rest of your day. Bye.